Today I'm going to show you how to make a crochet poppy. Hi, I'm Rosanna from Moara Crochet, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my 4th free crochet flower pattern. As per usual, there is a full written photo tutorial on my blog and there is a link down below. And from there you can also get access to my other free crochet knowledge, crochet patterns, and if you sign up you'll also get a free crochet pattern. Don't forget to stick around to the end of the video and you'll also get a sneak peek at next week's free crochet flower pattern. To make my crochet poppy, I am using a 2.2mm crochet hook and fingering weight linen yarn. You can use any yarn you want as long as you have a matching crochet hook, and try and use the smallest crochet hook possible for your yarn to keep your stitches quite tight. To start row 1, chain 4. So I'll start with my foundation chain, collect my loop, okay, there's my start, and let's chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's going to count as 3 of the chains is going to be a double crochet, and the single one at the end is going to count as our foundation. So now you're going to add 7 more double crochet into this foundation. So that's your 4th stitch from your hook. So just add 7 more double crochet into this hook. So at the end of the row you will have 7 double crochet plus a chain 3. So in total we'll actually have 8 double crochet. Here is the end of row 1, so now I'm going to turn to work in the next row, and I'm going to chain 3 and count this as my first double crochet. In your next stitch you're going to put a double crochet, and then in your next 4 stitches you're going to do a double crochet increase. So that's 2 double crochet per stitch. Just like this. So 2 double crochet in 1 stitch. So you're going to do that for the next 3 stitches. And in the final 2, add a double crochet each. And in total at the end of this row, you will have 12 double crochets. Here's the end of my row 2. So now I'm going to turn to do row 3. And I'm going to chain 3 to count as my first stitch. And I'm going to do a double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So 1 double crochet, next stitch, there's the second. In the 4th stitch I'm going to do a double crochet increase. So that's 2 double crochets in the same stitch. And then in the 5th stitch I'll do a double crochet, and then stitch number 6 I'll do a double crochet increase. So now we are halfway along our stitches. So what we're going to do now is the reverse. So it'll be a double crochet increase, so that's 2 in 1 stitch, followed by a double crochet, and then the next stitch will be a double crochet increase because it's a mirror of what we've just done, followed by 3 double crochets. Let's do that together. So that's my first, my second, and finally my third. And at the end of this row you will have 16 double crochets in total. So we've reached the end of row 3. Now we're going to do row 4. So chain 3 to count as your first double crochet, and then you're going to do a single crochet in every single stitch. So that's a double crochet in every single stitch. So that would be 15 double crochets in total. And I'll meet you at the end of row 4. Here is row 4, so now we're going to turn for row 5, and we're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip, that's your first stitch, skip your next stitch, and in your third stitch add a single crochet. The same for the next one, for the fourth stitch. And now for the next 10 stitches you're going to add double crochets. So here's my first and my second. So now you'll continue with 8 more double crochets, and then in the final 2 stitches add 2 single crochets. So here's my row 5 done, and my petal is starting to curve. For row 6 I'm going to turn, and I'm going to chain 1 again. I'm going to skip 2 stitches, so I'm going to skip those 2 single crochets we've just done, and I'm going to go straight to the double crochet, and I'm going to do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to do 3 double crochets. It's my first, second, and third. And then in my fourth stitch here, I'm going to do a triple double crochet increase. So that is 3 double crochets in the same stitch. So that's my first, second in the same stitch, and now my third. So I've got a 3 double crochet increase there. After I've done my triple double crochet increase, I'm going to do 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and then in the final 2 stitches I'm going to do a single crochet, single crochet, single crochet. And there is the base of our petal done. So the last thing we need to do now is single crochet all the way around. So we're going to chain 1, and we're going to turn our work to work down the side of our petal. So first I'm going to put a single crochet into the single crochet of row 5, and then I'm going to add 2 single crochets into each of the double crochet rows. So to get down to the base, that's going to be 8 single crochets in total. Now I've got down to the base, I'm going to do 1 single crochet into the foundation chain, and I'm going to continue with my single crochets up the other side, covering my tail. So I don't need to fasten off and weave in the ends with both strings. I can just do it with 1 because I'm going to fasten 1 off now as we put this final row of single crochets in. So far we are at stitch 8. Okay, now final bit, I'm going to add a single crochet into the chain stitch we made in row 6, and a single crochet in the next 3 single crochet stitches we made for row 7. And I'm just going to continue all the way around in every stitch, wrapping in my yarn as I go along. So I think in total there are 36 single crochets to do all the way around your petal. Now this is all written down on my blog with a photo tutorial for you. So last few stitches. Okay, and 1 more here. Okay, now I'm at the end. What I'm going to do is slip stitch into my first stitch that I made, my first single crochet for this row, and pull my yarn through. Now what I like to do now is turn over my work, insert my hook into the next stitch, and pick up my yarn and pull it through, just so my stitch here stays flat. Now if this is your first petal, you need to fasten off and weave in your ends. If this is your second petal, you're going to attach this to this second petal. So I'll just show you now. So here's my first and second petal, and I've weaved in my end till I got to the center stitch here, and now I'm going to thread my yarn into the matching stitch from the other petal, and I'm just going to align these up to create a butterfly. And I'm going to put a stitch in this corresponding stitch, and then I'll do it also in the one above and the one below, just to ensure this is very secure. And into the third one. There you go. And just fasten off your ends. So I'll just turn this over and do a few little knots. When you've finished, you should have 2 sets of petals, which will go one on top of the other. First I'm going to show you how to make a crochet puff button. So first of all, you need to chain 4. So start your chain, and you're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my 4 foundation, and I'm going to slip stitch into the first chain, and that's going to create a tiny little circle that we're going to start our button from. So what you need to do is find the center and add as many single crochets as you can to fill your circle. So keep going into the center and add more and more single crochets, and continue this all the way around. There is no set number on how many you can fit in. It depends on your yarn and your hook. So just continue until you can get as many as you can. Here I am, I've got as many as I can into my circle, and now what you're going to do, you're going to continue single crochets over this row. So just continue on top of the first row of single crochets that you made, and just continue this all the way around. And gradually, as you go around, you'll see that your hole in the middle just here will reduce. And as you're going around, you can also start to push your stitches back to create that little bun effect. So continue around until you fill this hole, there's no more space, and your stitches are evenly around, so it creates this donut. So I'll continue and I'll show you when I've reached the end. Now I've reached the end, I've crocheted as many as I can all the way around. For this one I went around about 3 times, and each time it gets a little bit more difficult, but now I know I've finished because I can hardly see the hole in the middle. So I've cut my yarn, so I'm going to pull my yarn over and out, and I'm just going to turn my button and just pull the yarn through the back loop just to make that look even. Okay, so now we have sort of a flat disc. Now to create this into a bun, all you simply do is push your stitches back as I've done here, and there you go. There's your crochet button, which you can use for the center of your flower. Make sure you leave a long tail so you can attach it, and that's it. If you're adding some detail to your crochet bun, I've simply threaded on about 50 centimeters of contrasting yarn. So these are good for the poppies. So I'm going to turn over, I'm going to insert my hook into the middle and pull my yarn all the way through, leaving about a 10 centimeter tail on the end so I can tie it up once I've finished. And I'm just going to go around the bottom, reinsert the hook into the center, and then continue round, adding this detail to create a contrasting design. And this is really easy to do, and just a contrasting color gives a real pop to your crochet flowers, or whatever design you're using. It doesn't have to be for a crochet flower, you could be using this for design. Okay, now I've done the required amount, so for my last one I don't need to insert into the middle. I'm just going to turn over and weave in to one of the stitches and make sure my stitch is straight on the front, pull through, and I'll just weave off my ends and tie in, and there is your center. For the center of my flower, I'm using a 3mm crochet hook just for illustration, because it will be easier for you to see the stitches. So to start, we're going to do a magic circle. So yarn over, pick up your yarn, and we're going to chain 3, and that is going to count as your first double crochet. So in this magic circle, you're going to add 11 more double crochets, and then once you get to the end, so you'll have 12 double crochets in total, including the 3 chain, and when you get to the end, you're going to slip stitch into the front post, and I'll show you this once we get there. Here is my magic circle with 12 double crochets, so I'm just going to close my circle, so pull it tight until my circle is fully closed, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the front post, the front of the chain. So you can see the back of the chain is behind, and I'm going to slip stitch and pull my yarn through, and there is my magic circle closed. Now for the second row, we're going to do picots in each stitch, but only in the front chain. So I'm going to chain 3, and then I'm going to slip stitch into my first chain, and then I'm going to slip stitch into my next stitch. Again, only in the front chain, not through both like we normally do, just in the front. So into the front chain, I'll pull my yarn through, slip stitch, chain 3, and then I'm going to slip stitch into my first stitch and pull all the way through, and there's my picot. And continue this all the way around, and you'll have 12 altogether. And then when you get to your first picot, you're going to slip stitch into the corresponding back chain, and I'll show you this together. So here I've done my 12 picots, so now I'm going to turn my work, and there I can see the stitches are behind. So I'm going to slip stitch into the back chain this time to do row 3. So let's fasten off row 2, and now I'm going to be working in these back stitches. There we go. So for row 3, we're going to chain 4 this time. So our picots are slightly higher than our previous row. Slip stitch into the first chain, and then slip stitch into the next back stitch, and then continue this around. 4, slip stitch into your first, pull through, and you can see now my picots are slightly higher behind, and it just gives that ruffled effect that you get from a poppy. Continue this all the way around, slip stitch into your first stitch, and then fasten off your end and leave a long tail to attach everything together. So here is my flower, that the flower center I made before, and I've already attached my button, crochet puff button to the center with the detailing. I used the long tail from the crochet puff button to attach, and now here is my long tail that I just asked you to leave. Now we're going to assemble our flower. Now the first thing we need to do is add in your wire. Okay. To add your wire, fold your wire in half, and just get this in focus. Fold your wire in half, and then with the 2 points If you've done it evenly, it'll be easier. With your 2 points, you're going to insert them into the 2 foundation holes of your petals. Turn your petals over and then just twist and bend your wires. Now for this one, I'm using a much finer florist wire, so it's much easier. I don't need to use the pliers for this one. So I can just bend that over and then I can twist it from the back to give some more security. Okay, so there's my base petals done. Now we're going to add our next petals, and we're going to add our flower center. And using the long tail from your flower center, you're going to sew all the way through the petals to attach everything together. So I've got mine arranged the way I want. So I'm going to insert my hook into both petals, comes all the way through the outside, and then I'm just going to do it very close to that stitch. So once I push it through, you will barely see the black yarn at all. If you wish, you can use red yarn so it's matching, but then it will be contrasting with your center. And just continue this all the way around. See, you can't hardly see my little stitch, and this is on the bottom anyway, so when you look at flowers you don't really look underneath, so it's not too important. And this one I am making to put away for Armistice Day in November. So I'm just preparing it so I know when the time comes I've already got my red poppy made. And just continue this all the way around until your center is attached to your petals. And that's it. That's how to make a crochet poppy. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial and you come back next week for the next free crochet pattern as many of us turn to stay home and safe. Give me a thumbs up and please don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you again next week. Bye!